You are not enough. These words have literally been haunting me since childhood. From as young as the age of 8, I remember feeling unwanted. My parents both loved me. And in hindsight, as an adult, as a mother now, I understand they did the best that they could with what they had. But due to some circumstances in our family dynamics, as a young child, I came up and I impressed upon myself this idea that I was not wanted, that I was not enough. And when I was 14 years of age, I left home. And shortly thereafter, I got evicted from the flat that I was staying in with two young women, both artists. One was a singer. I used to hear her sing late at night in the room next doors. At the time, I really thought that I would be able to make a career out of modeling. I moved to Toronto, a big city in Canada. But despite going to auditions after auditions, a lot of the work that I was landing was contra. So they would give me clothing, not money. Wasn't able to pay my rent. And one day I came home and all my things were on the curb. I had been very late paying the rent and I was evicted. I was about 15 years of age. And so I turned to stripping. I became an underage stripper. I got a fake ID and a club hired me. And I did it not because I wanted to, not because I grew up with this dream of, oh, I want to pole dance and shake my ass and twerk to make money, but because I was trying to survive. And so what mattered wasn't really my choice. What mattered most was my safety, was being able to eat, was being able to have a shelter over me. And stripping provided that for me. And actually, I started to make quite a lot of money. So two things happened in that experience with the keeping in mind this underfloor layer of you are not enough. I started to enter value exchanges with my body. I'll shake my ass, you pay me cash. And this created a natural correlation of my body equals my worth. Men catcalling me, men drooling over me, validated, filled this space inside of me that I deeply craved. It didn't matter that these guys were just after me for my body. For me, it was like, look, I'm wanted. People want me. Look, they're paying me money. I'm wanted. I'm wanted. And then money also became this interesting relationship that in many ways it became my safe place. It became the only thing I could really rely on. It didn't feel like I could rely on anyone else in my life, but money was the thing that was keeping me alive, keeping me safe, keeping a roof over my head. And I began to develop this relationship with money that was very much the more I can make, the more worthy I will become, which I will say is probably a belief and a relationship that most of the world, regardless if you're in business or an artist or a career, has to some extent, because we live in a society, for better or for worse, a capitalistic society where we are told that happiness and well-being exists outside of ourselves. And therefore, if we buy the nice car, if we buy the all these things, we will be confident. We will have status. We will be worthy. Look, we made it. So this is a very, very common belief. But all of these experiences ultimately led to a situation where I feared making my own choice. I didn't trust my choice. I didn't trust that I could choose my life. It also led to situations where, in the most fucked up ways, survival was what was familiar. I had been surviving since the age of 15. And so stability, like almost every time I felt stable or there was safety in my life, I would yank the carpet out from under myself, because survival was what I had come to know. Survival was the pattern we knew how to work with. My voice did not feel safe, and I used money as a way to almost buy my friendships or keep people around me. So boyfriends, just here, you just play video games. I'll look after you. Because I realized money was status, and if I have money, people lean in. So for this young girl who had this underlying belief that she is not wanted, suddenly to have access to money where people want that, people lean in when you have that, it was like a shortcut. Look, if I pay for everyone, and if I cover everything, and if I martyr myself, and if I give, people will want me. So through no fault of anyone else, this was all my own doing, I essentially ended up in a lot of relationships, whether it was friendships or romantic relationships, where I felt used or betrayed, or it fed this like feeling of, oh, they only want me for the money, which is ironic because I was using that to feel wanted and then resenting it later on. So this continued pretty much most of my adult life. And, it's taken me, I'm 40 years old now, so it's taken me the good part of, I would say, 30 years for me to become aware of these beliefs and these stories and these patterns that were running the show in my life. Running the show in the sense that I didn't feel safe using my voice, saying what I wanted, because I didn't feel worthy enough to do that, because I felt that I would push people away, and those relationships were the only thing making me feel valid. And so I would use chaos to do the job for me. Obviously not consciously, but you are chaos. You are the duality. Any chaos in your life is your own doing. Anytime you point the finger at someone else, you have given away your creative power. Watch out, my friend. Life gets really tough when you do that. So subconsciously, I would use chaos to help me make those choices. In other words, my marriage, my 12-year marriage, I knew for the last 5 years I didn't belong in that marriage, but I didn't want to hurt him. I felt like in me choosing myself, it would hurt someone else. It would destroy someone else. My choice equals destruction. And so it took a really big fight. It was a big fight that broke us up, and it was messy, and it was hurtful for him, and actually destroyed him even more to do it the chaotic way. But I didn't have the courage to do it the other way. Same thing with my company. I didn't have the courage to pivot and let my team go. I didn't want to hurt them. I didn't want to let people down. And so it took a mental breakdown. I have been using chaos my whole life as an ally, even though I shame it and I despise it and I curse it and I say, why is this happening to me? If I'm really honest with it, it's happening because I didn't feel safe enough to choose. I didn't feel safe enough to choose because my choice was never part of my equation in survival and growing up. So it's been very recent that I become aware of that. Oh, okay. This is the way that I create. This is the way that I get myself out of structures that don't serve me anymore. This is how I use money. This is why I start feeling used and betrayed and resentful of circumstances. But just because I gained awareness of this, which, by the way, is the first step to transformation. You cannot change anything in your life until you become aware. Awareness is the first step. This is why in Buddhism, they talk about the path of enlightenment being able to observe the observer. In other words, detaching yourself from over self-identification of I'm angry, I'm depressed. No, you're having an experience of that, observing the observer. But just because you observe the observer, just because you gain awareness doesn't mean oftentimes it does happen. Beliefs shift just through that level of awareness. I've seen it, I've experienced it myself. But when it comes to deeply rooted childhood ingrained subconscious beliefs that have been haunting you your whole life, they don't just spontaneously evaporate just because you have gained awareness around them. It takes intention to do that. So today what I want to do is I want to share with you the 5 methods that I have found to be the most effective, both in my own experience as well as working with, I'm going to say, like thousands of entrepreneurs throughout the years. So I'm also going to share with you the level of difficulty and the effectiveness of these tools that you can apply. Okay. So the first one I want to share is self-enchantment. So this is where, so basically beliefs happen because patterns happen because the brain at any second of any moment in time is being inundated with information signals, billions of information signals. And even though your brain is a supercomputer and it is so much more competent than AI, it is the ultimate supercomputer of this planet that we know of. It cannot process all that information. It's too much. The information coming through your 5 senses, it's too much. So it sifts and it cuts most of it out, right? But it looks for patterns, and that's the stuff that it allows into your perception. And so anytime there's a repetition of something that happens, the brain is trying to always preserve energy. It has a lot of flexibility the younger you are. And then as you age, you lose this brain flexibility. And so it becomes harder and harder to learn new things like languages because it's harder and harder to shift those synaptic connections. It requires more energy to do that. And so your brain is constantly looking for patterns around you. And then once it spots a pattern, it goes, okay, this is an automation, if you will. If you think about in marketing, when you're like, okay, I'm doing a workflow, this is an automation. This is a workflow. When this happens, when this trigger happens, we do this. This is what needs to happen. And it does that to preserve energy. And it does that to help you navigate reality. It's not your enemy. It's not trying to harm you. It's trying to help you. And so in childhood, maybe somebody said something to you, a parent said to you, it's not safe, or maybe you got punished for speaking out or saying what you wanted. And so the brain, you developed a belief. You identified a pattern that when I use my voice, it equals trouble. I get in trouble. And so later on in life, this may result in either you are either very argumentative or you're afraid of visibility, right? We can go to either polarity with it. And so rewiring those patterns, one of the ways you can do that, if the repetition was what got that belief in the first place, we can use repetition, exposure to create new beliefs. Okay. Now, so this method is actually very difficult and it's effective, but it is not the most effective method. I'll share some more. It is effective though. It works. So this is where like journaling and affirmations come in, where you're just like repeating something over and over and over again. And the reason I'm saying is it's difficult is because it requires a lot of daily repetition. This is not something you're going to affirm yourself once and suddenly your childhood traumatic beliefs have disappeared. No, you're going to have to do this all the freaking time for a really, really, really long time. Now there's tools, AI tools that I have discovered that have helped me to speed up this process. So back in June of 2025, I started playing around with AI and I was introduced to this mind movie thing from Dr. Joe Dispenza several years before. Essentially, it's a technique he teaches where it's like a vision board, but you put it in a PowerPoint slide, a video, you overlay emotional music that makes you feel empowered or whatever emotion, and then you just watch it every day. So in June, I started to go, hey, let's use AI to take this up a notch, where it's using my face in video scenes of things that I want to bring into my life. And I have a YouTube video I recorded, a step-by-step on how to do that. So I'll put that below in the comments so you can check it out if you're interested in doing that. So that's one way to do it, where you're essentially showing yourself visual representations of yourself and using emotive music. And music is powerful at emoting emotional states, trance states, and sight is our strongest sense. So anything, with videos or images of yourself starts to fool the brain, self-enchantment. There's also another tool that I use called the Dream Engine. And this one, you record your voice. It creates a clone of your voice. And then it creates narratives based on what you desire from your future self that is telling you what has happened. And it overlays it with binaural beats and different hertz frequencies. So I will also put a link to that below in the comments if you want to check that out. Again, these methods, they do work. They're just a little bit trickier because they require, it's not like you tune into this once. And none of these methods is like that, but some are just a little bit easier. Okay. So another way to shift through subconscious beliefs that have been sort of haunting you since childhood, and I would say this one is probably the easiest, and it is a very effective way to do this, is your tribe. So the people you hang around with. You are biologically programmed to want to fit in. It's hardwired into you. This is why one of the first questions most people ask when you meet new people is, what do you do? We're trying to figure out our status in the tribe and where we fit in. And they've done a lot of studies with this. It's like, even if you're not asking that question, even if you're trying to be enlightened, we still do it. We still try to figure out where we fit in the tribe, in the pack, in the herd, because it's so biological to us. This means that the brain, okay, this is like the brain will normalize anything the gang has normalized. And actually what they've shown is that, so usually people who hurt people are people who have been hurt. So it's a trauma that's passed on, usually. So people that are aggressive, or they, violence, or they use, I don't know, they're murdering people. They usually have some kind of deep trauma in their childhood, but not always. Sometimes you see people committing heinous freaking crimes and they had really solid upbringing, really loving parents. And what happened was they got in the wrong group. They got around the wrong group of friends. So your group of friends can really change your beliefs really, really quickly without you really trying. This is why I'm saying this is the easiest way. So this could be investing in masterminds. It could be finding communities. It could be hiring mentors. If you're an entrepreneur or a business owner, this will be the highest ROI you could ever make in your business, to put yourself around people who embody and believe in that which you aspire to. So that's the key, is you want to find people that they've normalized what you're trying to normalize. So sometimes as a woman in my 40s, I get this belief or this emotion of like, oh, aging, I'm not worthy anymore. I'm getting old and I can feel really shitty about myself. And then I'll go I have many females in my life, friends and my sister, who that doesn't bother them. They're very proud of aging. They're wearing it really beautifully. Like, they're just like, yeah, I love it, And then the moment I'm around those, it's like that dissipates. This other tension point dissipates. So just to illustrate the power, and we've all experienced this phenomenon, right? And so that is the easiest, very effective way, extremely effective way to shift beliefs, is you find a tribe, you find people who are embodying and have normalized that which you want to normalize, whether it's self-worth or confidence or making money or making money without hustle, whatever it might be. Okay. So find those communities. It's very, very effective. Another effective way, and I would say this one's not difficult, but it's probably not the easiest, is somatic therapy. And I have a very checkered past with therapy. I'm not a big fan of it, talk therapy, because I tried it when my marriage was on the breakdowns. I tried it when I was depressed. Both of those experiences were not great. But somatic therapy is different. Somatic therapy is when they use your body and often your breath to process trauma experiences that are still being held in your nervous system. So that could be dancing, it could be breath work. Sometimes it's light language, it's singing, it's using your voice. And if you've never tried any of this, I highly, highly recommend it, because it's just a beautiful practice to be in your body and to start to feel comfortable in it. And if you would like to get connected to some somatic practitioners, obviously there's heaps of them online or everywhere you go now, but leave a comment below and I can connect you to some that I deeply trust, that are in my world, that I know do great stuff, that are really, really great. So those are, okay, so 3, let's go on to 4. Another method that is very, very effective. Actually, this is the most effective way, but this is the most difficult. Embodiment. So in the new age and manifestation circles, this has become the buzzword. Embodiment. Just embody that which you desire. And they make it sound so simple. And I've been guilty of saying stuff like this. Just act, talk, and behave like the version of yourself that already has it, as if it already were. Oh, so easy. So easy, right? Oh, no. Embodiment is the hardest one of this, but it's the most effective, because all of the other options I'm giving to you ultimately lead to this anyways. Regardless, if you hang around a tribe and your beliefs change, it means your actions and behaviors and your language will change also, right? So it all leads to embodiment eventually, but sometimes leading with embodiment at the beginning is not for the faint of heart. Let me give you an example of this. Let's say that you have a belief that everybody leaves you. You're always abandoned, right? And so what this has resulted in your life is that you push people away before they can leave you. You don't allow people to get too close and you push anyone away. So you become aware of this belief. Oh my God, I'm pushing people away. Okay, I'm going to act as if I don't have this belief, as if people stay. So what does that mean? That means you need to trust people now. That means you need to get vulnerable. That means you need to let them in. You need to let them hang around. This is going to fire every red alarm off in your brain and your nervous system. Why? Because it's an unknown and your brain is trying to keep you to the workflow. This is the workflow. What the hell is she doing? She's deviating, red alarm. Your nervous system is like, we don't know this. This feels uncomfortable. This feels like pain. What is she doing? And your brain is going to tell you you're being naive. It's going to make you see things that aren't even there. This person is cheating. This person said things, da-da-da-da-da. So that you can stick to the workflow. It will be the most difficult thing you ever did. And that will be the most difficult thing. And then here's the kicker. Just because you do that difficult thing doesn't mean it's over. Because once you decide to be vulnerable or let someone in or act differently than you did before, those alarms don't stop. They keep going. Your nervous system is going to want to vomit. You're going to want to collapse and retract and go back. So this is not for the faint of heart, this embodiment, embody, act like you're rich. It's not about, I'm walking around like I've got money. It's about the behaviors, the way you're talking. And actually, at the micro level, changing those is going to challenge you on such a level. Very few people have the guts, the courage, and the ability to not collapse under that. So usually embodiment is best approached through the other methods first, like somatic therapy or self-enchantment, and then you start to embody, because it's so hardcore to do it front end. And finally, this method I want to share with you is very effective, but it's a little bit harder to do. Okay. And that is what I call retroactive enchantment. So in the world of alchemy, they call this retroactive enchantment. Basically, what that means is you're going to the root source of the original event. Yeah. So a lot of talk therapy, this is what they try to do. Scientology, this is what they try to do. A lot of therapeutic trauma practices, hypnosis, this is what they want to do. They want to take you to the original event so they can change the density of the emotion or the perception, the story that exists behind it, right? So retroactive enchantment is essentially the same thing, except you're using usually guided pathworking. A pathworking is a guided, almost like a meditation that uses storytelling and soundscapes to help bring you into a trance state. And you're having a conversation with the younger, you're pinpointing when that happened. So if you don't have conscious awareness of the event when that happened, if you don't have a memory or specific memories, this can be very tricky. And you may be spending a long time in therapy to try to figure out what that was, or but if you can pinpoint that memory, then it is about having a dialogue with that younger version of yourself. And we know that time is not linear. So sending the support, the love, the new thoughts and perspectives to help that younger version of yourself through that event. So I'll give you a story about this. When I was 18 years old, I was backpacking in Australia. I had just left the stripping industry in Canada. I was heartbroken and I was very suicidal. And I tried to commit suicide on Bondi Beach with razors on my wrists. And there are still blood stains on that bench to this day. And it was a very triggering experience for me. And I remember visiting Bondi Beach 4 years ago with my partner. And we were staying on the beach and I could see the bench from my Airbnb and just feeling like really heavy emotions, like it was triggering me, like, oof. And so I did a ritual, a retroactive enchantment, where I went in to a past timeline and I had a conversation with that 18-year-old girl. And I told her, like, girl, like, don't put the knife all in. Trust me, it gets so good. It gets so good. Like, you're going to create amazing things. You're going to help so many people in the world. You're going to have amazing children, like just this beautiful life. And I do think that that is one of the reasons I didn't die that night, because of that retroactive enchantment, because there was a future self, of version of myself talking to myself across that timeline. So this is a beautiful way. It can be a little bit more difficult because you have to locate the original event. And sometimes that's not always obvious. The memory, especially if there's a lot of trauma, a lot of individuals don't have good memory because it's a protection mechanism, but it's very effective. So I've just shared with you 5 ways to help you shift really stubborn subconscious beliefs, even if they've been following you since childhood, especially those ones. But here's something I want to end with here, is that none of these are linear. None of them are clean, or like, you know, I've said easiness versus not. Even the one I said was really easy, being with a tribe. What you'll find is that you will shift something and then pop, you have a situation, usually not long after, that comes up that is normally would trigger that workflow. And then you can see some patterns reverting. And then you go, okay, I haven't worked through it fully. Let's go through it again. But that is the work. That is the work. And it's not a sign of failure if that trigger shows up again and we go. It's there to help you. Now that you have the awareness and you have the tools, it's helping you to work through it and integrate it. And because nothing lives in a vacuum in this universe, there's no such thing as a world free of problems. There's no such thing as a world without dark. What will happen is you will shift through one belief and then you'll encounter some more, because as you grow and as you hit new levels, you're going to be challenged by narratives or perspectives or beliefs that don't allow that to happen. And so it's an ongoing process. But this is growth, and you get better and better at it. The more you go through this, the more self-aware you become. And this is really self-leadership. This is the ultimate form of alchemy. Alchemy to me is not shifting lead into gold in the literal sense. It is a figurative sense of shifting the lead of childhood memories and beliefs and turning that, finding our own hand through that, turning that into an experience of gold where we can rework the workflow and go, okay, this trigger shows up and now we're responding this way, and therefore we get a different result. But you're working against your brain. You're working against your nervous system when you're doing this. Not again. You're working with both of them, but you're working against ingrained workflows in both of those. And so there's an element here where you just got to give yourself grace as you're going through this. Be gentle with yourself. Understand it's not always going to be a spontaneous thing, and it's going to require intention on your part. But if you are intentional if you have the awareness and you put intention behind it, and you have access to tools now, you can work through anything. You can change any belief. That is always within your creative sovereign power. No one can ever take that away from you. You always have the ability to change perspectives, to change thoughts. Is it spontaneous? Is it easy? Not always. But you always have that power. And don't ever let anyone tell you that you do not have that. I hope this video has served you well. I would love to know if there's any methods that you have tried that have been beneficial to you. Let me know in the comments if there's anything. If you're a somatic practitioner, let me know in the comments so other people can find your work. And please remember to subscribe and like this video and do all of the things, because obviously that means the world to me to know that you're here, you're listening, and it has served you. Thank you so much for tuning in.